ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम ज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। मूकं करोति वाचालं पङ्गुं लङ्घयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे श्रीगुरुं दीनतारिणं श्रीचैतन्यैश्वरं परमानन्दमाधवं। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामीनिति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषशून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे। वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्ण। My heartfelt welcome to all the dignified guests who are with us this evening for our monthly Prerana festival. My sincere gratitude to the IYS organizers of the Prerana festival for having requested me to offer this service, and my sincerest gratitude to every single one of you who are here this evening for this Prerana festival. I'd like to welcome all of you for this monthly Prerana festival. You know what, when you find a crowd of young boys, all teenagers, gathered together in a temple, that's a culture shock for many. Seeing an audience like that, sitting in a temple, kya kar rahe? But more than just coming in a temple, coming on a Saturday evening, that is even more difficult, you know. Saturday evening is a week out to chill out, man, you know. What are you guys doing here on a Saturday evening? For most people, it can come like a major culture shock. Saturday evening for most of you probably would have been spared for Ek Tha Tiger, you know. But you're here in the temple. Or Saturday evening was probably, especially in the monsoon season, with someone at Lonavala, Lohgad, छुट्टी, वेकेशन, इधर क्या कर रहे हैं? Or probably a Saturday evening is, if not a movie, if not going for छुट्टी on a weekend, it is just to crash. After the busy week of study or work, just go to sleep. Of course, you will do that in a while from now as I start my lecture. But so you won't miss much of your sleep. You may miss your picnic and movie, but you may not miss much of your sleep. Students' slogan is to go to sleep easily. पढ़ना लिखना छोड़ पढ़ाई, नकल पे रख आस, उठा रजाई सो जा बच्चे रब करेगा पास. That is their slogan. student slogan is this: you go to sleep peacefully. So for me, it's a culture shock. Not for me, I see every month. But for most of our guests here, they must be thinking, ये इस उम्र में नौजवान लड़के इधर क्या कर रहे हैं? एक था टाइगर छोड़ दिया, लोनावला छोड़ दिया, नींद छोड़ के आया है टाइटैनिक देखने के लिए. जेम्स कैमरॉन. चश्मा नहीं दिया बस. I think a lot of you who came at the registration counter were probably thinking, चश्मा किधर है? To watch a movie, 3D Titanic. So of course, I'm hoping that you all are not disappointed that there is no movie here today. But I'll try to share a few thoughts on this subject matter this evening in the next hour or hour and a half. And once again, my deepest gratitude to all of you. You could have done so many things, yet you are here. In my heart, I can say all of you are extraordinarily special. Above all the youth here in Mumbai, you have chosen to take this evening off to come here in a temple to listen to a bald monk speak to something on the Titanic. You know, I mean, monk and Titanic. So many young boys were asking me, क्या बोलने वाले? What are you going to speak on the Titanic? So I think time will unfold what I'm going to say. Let us see if a few thoughts can come up and if they can help you in your life. If we could at this Prerana festival add even an iota of value to your life as you leave back, we will consider this festival a success. Even if an iota, tiny iota of value is added to your personal lives and you feel encouraged, uplifted, you feel to walk on the right path, I think this will definitely be a success at our festival here. Let us see how it goes though. It's quite interesting that we have two words, earn and learn. And the problem today is, more than learning, everyone is after earning. How many of you go to college to just get knowledge? ज्ञान चाहिए, ज्ञान. है कोई? हाथ उठाओ. कोई नहीं. How many of you want रोकड़ा? Earning is such a powerful emotion on our heart. Everything we do practically is to earn. More than earning name, fame, character, we are probably after earning a lot of money. And then how we earn that money is again another thing. By hook or crook. कैसे तो चाहिए बस. Somehow or the other we just want that money. You know, ना बाप बड़ा ना भैया, सबसे बड़ा रुपया. भैया, सबसे बड़ा रुपया. You know, an average teacher in any school in India today, in 10 years after earning, you know how much an average teacher will save? Probably about 1 lakh or 2 lakh rupees. I'm saying on the higher end. You know, a software engineer, in 10 years, how much he will save? His 10-year income saving probably be around, you know, maybe about 40-50 lakhs. Again, I'm saying on the higher end, probably that much. How much would not a good one, but a corrupt politician, you know, save after 10 years of his political, I won't say Vijji, scams, controversies, you know, about 30-40 crores, 50 crores. I'm not talking of 2G. General scams I'm talking. 50 crore. Imagine what people wearing this can earn. One very famous man, spiritual guru in India, his 10-year saving was 238 crores only. Another man, again spiritual, religious leader, his 10-year saving was 1,177 crores only. Another man, again religious leader, his saving was 10 years, 4,000 crores only. Choose your career carefully, Baba. What you are earning, software engineer? Therefore they say, छोड़ो घर बार चलो हरिद्वार. Of course, this is not a blanket statement on the lighter side. I'm talking of people who don't represent religion properly. This is not to criticize religious sadhus or monks. Many who are so pure and sincere. But in the name of religion, we can do many things. You know, hook or crook, earning matters. Earning matters. Whichever way you do it, but earning matters. One 20-year-old lady got married to a 100-year-old guy. So this 20-year-old's friend came and asked, क्या देखा तूने उसमें? हाँ? 100 साल का बुढ़ाऊ है, तू 20 साल की सुंदर लड़की है, क्या देखा उसमें? Said very simple. पहले तो उनका इनकम, दूसरा उनके दिन कम. Very simple. His income is heavy and his din is come. So it's just a matter of few days, it'll all be mine. I'll tell you the slogan today is hook or crook, earn money. Because money is sweeter than honey. So appealing to all of us. Incredible, you know. I'm amazed. One professor in a college asked the student, he said, MBA college, studying finance. So he said, which is the most important law of finance to start a good business? This guy replies, father-in-law. It's the best law. Get me? All the earning will come without hard work, start business. No problem. Indian minds are very intelligent guys. Indian youth. What I truly feel is, I'm not saying earning is bad. I'm not at all saying money is bad. It's a need. It's a need to live life. Socially it's needed. For higher purposes, social service, philanthropic work, for spiritual purposes, it's needed. I'm not against money, not against earning money. My point is, in the course of pursuing earning of money, we have forgotten learning in our lives. It's quite funny that all of us go through life. We don't grow through life. Life is not meant for going through. Life is meant for growing through. Going through comes with money. Growing through comes by learning. Going through is earning. Growing through is learning. You know, if you want to know how rich you are, see the things that you have that money cannot buy. That will tell you how rich you are. If you want to know how rich you are, drop a tear and see how many hands reach to wipe that tear. You know, some people are so poor that all they have is money. Can you imagine? I must tell you something. I must say, ladies and gentlemen here, because we have some ladies sitting here. I must tell you something. In the pursuit of earning, do not forget learning. And the difference between the word earn and learn is an alphabet L. That's all. Add a L to earn, it becomes learn. What is that L? How do you learn? The first step of learning, L, is listen. Listen carefully to people who have experience. Listen carefully to people who have knowledge. Listen carefully to people who have wisdom and maturity. Listen carefully to people who are basing their life, their words, their actions on the words of the Lord Almighty, who has given us a direction to our lives. Listen to these people. What is Prerana about? Prerana is turning your earning into learning. I congratulate all of you to come here practically every month to add the L, to learn. By listening to these discourses, by listening to these talks, and changing the perspectives of your life. So our slogan is neither earn nor learn. Our slogan is earn and learn. Srila Prabhupada, the founder Acharya of our society, the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, would tell us there are 3 methods of learning. He would tell us the first method of learning is hear, listen. Attentively listen to people who have that wisdom, maturity, knowledge, experience. Listen to them. What they share, you cannot get anywhere else. Learn from what they say. One successful business magnate, he was being interviewed by a newspaper reporter. The reporter said, "Sir, what is the secret of your being successful?" He said, 2 words. He said, "What are those magic words, sir?" The man said, "Right decisions. Because I make the right decisions, I'm successful." He said, "Well, that's right. I mean, that's pretty much okay. I understood that by right decisions. But how do you make those right decisions, sir?" The reporter asked. The magnate said, "1 word." He said, "Sir, can you kindly reveal that word?" The guy said, "Experience. Based on my experience, I make the right decisions." The reporter said, "Well, accepted, that's right. But how do you gain that experience?" The business magnate said, 2 words. The reporter said, "May I know what those 2 words are?" The man said, "Wrong decisions." Simple. You make wrong decisions in your life, you get experience what not to do. And once you get experience what not to do, what you do is you make the right decisions. Why do you want to go through the same mathapachi? Hear from those who have made the right, made the wrong decisions, who have tremendous wisdom, who have tremendous maturity. Listen to them and learn. That is the first method of learning. Like sometimes you may say, alcoholism is bad, it will cause you trouble. So one method of learning is just hearing. मैं सुना, कभी बॉटल को हाथ नहीं लगाया. First class learning. Simply by hearing, समझ गया. One guy was walking at night 1 o'clock and he was zooming. Not zooming. Zooming is the English word. There is English, Tanglish, and then is Munglish, Mumbai English. So Munglish is, he was zooming. That's not zooming ka Hindi pronunciation. He was zooming, completely gone. And the police caught him at 1 in the morning and said, "Where are you going? किधर जा रहा है?" "प्रवचन सुनने." सुबह के 1 बजे प्रवचन सुनने जा रहा है रास्कल का. प्रवचन का टॉपिक क्या है? शराब पीने के डिसएडवांटेजेस. वाह, फुल टाइट होके एक सुबह के 1 बजे इज गोइंग टू लिसन टू अ प्रवचन ऑन शराब पीने के बोले प्रवचनकार कौन है? मेरी पत्नी. 1 o'clock in the morning, who is going to give a pravachan on what are the disadvantages of drinking? Quite amazing. First class method of learning is hear from pravachan, no? Hear, listen, and learn. Probably alcoholism is not good. You know what the second class learning is? Hearing se nahi samajhta na. Observe. Srila Prabhupada used to say, then observe others. If you don't feel that, ऐसा कैसा विश्वास रखूं? उसने पिया, उसका लीवर गया. ये तो रोज दिन रात उसका सब गिरा रहा है. तो मैं करूंगा तो मेरा भी जाएगा. How is he learning? Not by hearing. Hearing हो गया लेकिन विश्वास नहीं हुआ. देखा, इसका भी प्रॉब्लम है, उसका भी प्रॉब्लम है, उसका भी प्रॉब्लम है, उसका भी प्रॉब्लम है. ठीक है, बराबर. Alcoholism not good. Observe it. There was a man who had 2 sons. This man was a drunkard, compulsive drunkard. So one friend of the family came and asked both the sons, asked the first son, "Will you drink alcohol?" He said, of course. Said, why? Father drinks. He asked the second son, will you drink alcohol? He said, not at all. Said, why? Father drinks. He saw father drinks. Look at what he's going through. His health crisis. I won't drink. By observation, we can learn our lessons in life. You know what is third class method of learning? Hearing सुन लिया, देखा भी, ना मेरे साथ नहीं होगा. सबके साथ हुआ, मेरे साथ नहीं होगा. Therefore, the third method of learning, Srila Prabhupada explained, is experience. लात खाएंगे, तभी पता लगेगा. जब गुजरेंगे उससे, तभी विश्वास होगा कि सही था. You know? Yeah, like that it works many times. Those who don't drink alcohol and smoke at all throughout their lok, they go to Indralok. Those who don't smoke at all, only drink alcohol, go to Brahmalok. And those who drink and smoke all throughout their life, go to Jaslok for treatment. For treatment. This is pretty simple. So how do you learn? Experience, you know. And Srila Prabhupada said, fourth class means सुनेगा, देखेगा, अनुभव करेगा, लेकिन फिर भी नहीं सीखेगा. Won't learn. I won't learn anything. You know. Still चलेगा अपना, चलता रहेगा. देखा है, डॉक्टर ने एडवाइस किया, सब किया, but still it will go on. One fully drunk man. Now because the example is that, I'm telling you all this. He was passing by a temple. So he asks the pujari, इस दुनिया में सबसे कौन बड़ा? तो the pujari said, मंदिर बड़ा. So this drunk fellow says, मंदिर बड़ा तो धरती पे क्यों खड़ा? पुजारी said, ठीक है, धरती बड़ी. धरती बड़ी तो शेषनाग पे कैसे पड़ी? पुजारी said, मेरे भाई, शेषनाग बड़ा. शेषनाग बड़ा तो शिवजी के गले में कैसे पड़ा? Now the pujari was getting really upset. ठीक है मेरे भाई, शिवजी बड़े, तो शिवजी बड़े तो कैलाश पे कैसे खड़े? Now this pujari was getting restless. मेरे बाप, ठीक है कैलाश बड़ा, कैलाश बड़ा तो हनुमान की उंगली पे कैसे पड़ा? संजीवनी लाने गए ना. So now the pujari was totally upset. He said, मेरे भाई तू बोल कौन बड़ा इस संसार? He said, इस संसार में तो वो बड़ा जो पूरी बोतल पी के भी दो टांग पे खड़ा. I'll tell you, हम नहीं सुधरेंगे. देखा है, सुना है, अनुभव किया है, लेकिन हम नहीं सुधरेंगे. You see, our learning comes from a combination of all three. We hear, we see, we experience and we go through, and we learn our lessons. We are not so good that we are first class, सुन के देख लिए, and we are not so bad that we are third class, that केवल अनुभव करके सीखते हैं. Our learning is a combination of hearing, of seeing, of experiencing. You know, it's quite an amazing thing. Once, 4 friends who had graduated from IIT Mumbai, they're all taken off to different parts in the United States to do their degrees, postgrads, and then their PhDs or whatever. And after a while, when they were all working in the States, they were all heads and leaders of giant multinational corporations. Incidentally, they were all coming back to India and they met at the JFK airport at New York. All 4, just like that, out of the blues, all 4 bumped into each other. Arey, kaisa hai? Oh my God, all 4 are you in the same class? Amazing! They all boarded the plane and incidentally all were flying into Mumbai, spending 2 days and then going to their respective hometowns. So as they landed in Mumbai, they felt, let's go to visit our professor at IIT Mumbai. He was such a nice man. We should go and give him a visit. All four of them came. First there was pleasantries. How are you? Everything going fine? All kinds of stuff happened. Slowly pleasantries changed into complaints. All four of them started talking to the professor. We are stressed, we are messed, we are pressurized, we are depressed. Gone, our minds are gone. The professor said, okay, no problem, hang out, don't worry, just wait a minute. And he said, why not have a cup of coffee? So he went into his kitchen and brewed a jug of filter coffee, and on a tray put a wide assortment of cups, coffee cups, some plastic, some porcelain, some china clay, some very cheap and ordinary, some very ornate and expensive. A jug of coffee and then a wide assortment of cups. He brought it and kept it on the table, looked to his students, four of them, said, help yourself with some coffee. Of course, all four of them, with just a signal given, they poured coffee into their cups and started sipping. You know what the professor said to all four of them? The professor said, did you take note of something? That all of you, consciously or unconsciously, went in for the most expensive, ornate, china clay decorated cups? Consciously or unconsciously, सबने एकदम ऐसा item first class cup चुना. Then he asked the students a question. Does the taste of coffee have anything to do with the cup? चाहे चाइना क्ले का हो, प्लास्टिक का हो, डिजाइन वाला नहीं हो, टेस्ट में कोई फर्क पड़ेगा? कोई नहीं. But what are you doing? You're equating the taste of coffee with the cup that it is held in. That is the cause of your stress. That is the cause of your pressure. You're equating the quality of your life with what you have. iPhone 4, iPhone 5, iPhone 6, iPhone 7, Samsung Galaxy Note, Sony Ericsson. Chi? You know? What are we doing? Equating your happiness, equating the quality of your life with the cup, the gadgets, the cars, the homes, the brands, the glasses, the watches, the shoes, the socks. Sorry, but we do. लोग देखते हैं प्यूमा है कि नाइकी है. अरे सॉक्स है, पहन कुछ तो. All stress, anxiety, pressure comes when you connect the two. I'm not saying don't have an Adidas or a Nike or a MacBook. I'm not saying so. I'm saying if you equate the quality of your life with these things, it is like equating the quality of the taste of coffee with the cup you have. Cup is meant to hold the coffee only. Your gadgets are only meant to continue with your life, function with your life, but don't think that this is what will give you happiness. So we've heard it. These guys saw it. And they were anyways experiencing it. They learned a lesson. By hearing these truths again and again, by seeing what the professor had done through these cups of coffee, and through experiencing in their lives in the United States of America, or what they were going through, they learned. They learned a very important and a crucial lesson for their life. Friends, ladies, gentlemen, this evening we are here not to watch the movie Titanic. We are here to learn a couple of lessons from the Titanic by hearing. You're all going to hear for the next an hour or so some lessons from the sinking of RMS Titanic. If you wanted to know what RMS stood for Royal Mail Ship or Royal Mail Steamer, because the Titanic wasn't just a luxury cruise, it was also carrying mail on it. So it was called the RMS Titanic, the RMS Carpathia, the RMS Olympic, the RMS Columbia. All of these luxury cruise liners and these luxury ships were also called RMS for the simple reason they also carried mail on it. And they charged a huge amount of money to just transport mail from one country to the other. You know, we are here this evening to look at the sinking of the RMS Titanic, 2012. year 2012 marks the 100th year, the century of the sinking of the Titanic. So we're looking at learning a couple of lessons. You will hear for the next an hour or so. You probably observed what I'm speaking in your lives or others' lives, and probably some of you have gone through what I'm going to speak to for the next 1 hour or so. Our learning will be a combo of all of these three: hearing, observing, and experiencing. What a beautiful genius Srila Prabhupada was to give such candid clarity on how we could learn in our lives, you know. Well, here we are. Facts about the Titanic. Do you know what the length of the Titanic was? 882 feet. Do you know how much the length of this temple room is? About 40 feet? 75 feet. The length of this temple room is about 75 feet. Multiply that by about 11. 11 times the size of the length of this temple room was the size of the ship, this luxury cruise liner called the Titanic. You know what the width was? The width of the ship was 92 feet, larger than this temple room. Massive. You know what the weight of the ship was? 46,328 tons. 46,328 tons on the waters. Huge, massive. You know what the speed of the ship was? You don't get ships moving at a very high speed. Nautical miles, they calculated in nautical miles called knots. This ship was moving in the year 1912. You can imagine, it's not a modern cruise liner. Technology wasn't as evolved then. 1912, Jai Shri Radha Gopinath ki, Jai Shri Gopal ji ki, Jai Shri Gaur Nitai ki, Jai Srila Prabhupada ki, Oh Premanande. At a speed of 23 knots, the highest recorded in navigation till then. 23 knots is 42 kilometers an hour approximately. That was a lot. For a cruise liner and a massive ship, that was a lot to move at that speed. It cost then $7.5 million. 1912. That was a lot of money. And they made a 3D movie now. That cost $18 million. मतलब ship से ज़्यादा picture का cost है. Ship was $7.5 million. The movie cost about $18 million. This ship boasted a crew of 892. There had 892 crew members, 2 crew members for every 3 passengers. For 1912, facilities like a gymnasium on board, facilities like a swimming pool on board, facilities of a Turkish bath on board was unheard of. Unheard of. Luxury cruise, taking with it 5 massive expensive grand pianos, 50-line telephone switchboard with wireless facility in 1912, a jeweled copy of the Rubaiyat of Omar Khayyam. Here was the Titanic, the pride of the day, the luxury cruise liner which was the dream of technocrats. What's going to happen to this ship? A ship that even Gaur, apparently, could not sing. Best of all cuisines, with best of all chefs from all around the world were on the RMS Titanic, cooking and serving out all varieties of fine delicacies to gratify the taste buds of the wealthy aristocrats who were sailing on board. The price for a ride on the Titanic, first class parlor suite, $4,350 then, which is Indian rupees today, 27 lakhs. This is 1912, mind you. For a first class berth में होता है ना 3 tier, 4 tier वैसा. You know, it was about $150, a total of about 95,000 Indian rupees today. Second class was about $60, about 38,000 rupees. Calculations today. Today is $690, 60 then. Third class was about 9,500 rupees. There were some general passengers also on board the RMS Titanic. But mostly celebrities, cinema stars from the Great Britain, England, was moving on. April 12th, April 10th, yes, 1912, the RMS Titanic took off from Southampton, England, the famous Southampton port, to move on towards New York, United States. And as the ship took off, at a particular spot in Ireland, all the third class and second class passengers got off. Utna afford karte the, England to Ireland, that was the money. All the aristocrats came on for their journey to New York. Little did they know, this would be their last journey. Little did they know that the fate of RMS Titanic was something else. Little did they know that most all of them would not step in New York City. Out of the over 2,200 passengers that were on board, 1,500 died. About 700 were saved, 600-700 were saved, and some of those testimonials are with us. These are just a couple of facts of the RMS Titanic. Of course, the cause of the sinking of the Titanic, as all of you know, was the iceberg. Once Steven Spielberg was sitting in a bar and a Chinese guy came and said, "Hey Steven, you know something? I'm a die-hard fan of your movies, man. Your special effects are out of this world, man. I want your autograph." Steven Spielberg gave him a tight slap on his face instead of the autograph. So this guy said, "Man, I asked you for an autograph. Why are you slapping me?" He said, "Very simple. You Chinese were responsible for the destruction of the Pearl Harbor in America." The Chinese men said, "Steven, hang on. It wasn't the Chinese. It was the Japanese." Steven Spielberg said, "Chinese, Japanese, Taiwanese, all the same. Ek aur diya chadaya." So this Chinese man, he gave one right tight to Steven Spielberg. So Steven Spielberg said, "What the hell? Why are you slapping me?" He said, "My relatives were on the Titanic. They sank because of you." He said, "Hey man, hang on. It wasn't me. It was an iceberg." He said, "Carlsberg, iceberg, Spilsberg." Gave one tight on his face, you know. Got a tit for tat in return for him. Yes, indeed. It wasn't Spielberg. It was the iceberg that was the cause of the sinking of the RMS Titanic. Let's move on to discuss our points and our lessons for this evening after discussing a few facts. You know, creation, you want to create anything, it's not that hard. It needs effort, it needs determination, it needs perseverance. You can create. Thomas Andrew, the man who designed the RMS Titanic, the British man who designed the Titanic, you know, 1912 was a wonder of the age. A 882 feet long ship. Wow! Everyone was saying, "Wow, wow, wow." A couple of years went, you know. Creation. All of you have gone through the phase of creation. Making something in your life, creating something in your life, starting something afresh in your life. Effort, perseverance. And we can do it. It's hard, but not as hard. Destruction, कुछ लगता है उसमें? कुछ नहीं. Doesn't need any time. Doesn't need any effort. Creation needs some effort. Destruction needs practically no effort. What requires the maximum amount of effort is maintenance. Is it not? Making a relationship, to start a relationship, peanuts. Comb your hair nicely. Have a Giorgio Armani glasses. Put a Yosint Laurel t-shirt. Wear a Levi's jeans. Wear Daewoo shoes. Have a Baume & Mercier on your hand. It's the most expensive watch on the planet, by the way. Have a Baume & Mercier on your wrist and walk with a presence, a charisma around on the Valentine's Day. Is it too hard? Everyone around will be, wow, he's cool, man. What's so hard? To start a relationship. This may take a while, start something, but it's still not so hard. Still not so hard. Of course, every guy is looking for a perfect girl, and every girl is looking for a perfect guy. It's quite amazing. A perfect girl or a boy doesn't bother, doesn't shout, doesn't flirt, doesn't lie, doesn't cheat, and doesn't exist. What are we talking about? This doesn't exist. हो जाएगा. It's not too hard. It'll start off. Creation is easy. Starting is easy. Some effort, थोड़ा impress करना पड़ेगा, थोड़ा एक गाना सुनाना पड़ेगा, एक chord गिटार पे strum करना, हो गया. कौन सी बड़ी बात है? And breaking that relationship, not at all difficult. Difficult? No. Love at first sight, divorce at first fight. Simple. Will it take anything to break a relationship today? Simple little tiny things and the relationship is broken. Every second day a young guy will come crying to me. Dil tod ke gayi ho. One guy came here. I was sitting in our ashram here and sitting on the lockers, and one guy comes, and some of our brahmacharis were also around Sunday morning. Started crying. And without asking for anything, he put his head on my lap. मैंने बोला नहीं रख इधर. Shoo! My dhoti got wet. I told him, first problem is our brahmacharis will think I bet you or something. तू रोना है ना इधर रख के रो, इधर मत रो. And second thing, you're making my dhoti wet, man. Misunderstanding. Please save me from misunderstanding. And this guy is telling me, मेरा 2 years we were going around. But okay, she found another guy. I said, you find another one, no problem, you'll get so many other. No, but she's the one. I can't sleep. रात में उसके ही सपने आते हैं, उसका ही विचार आता है. माँ बोलती बेटा खोया खोया लगता है, क्या हो गया? It's common. It's common. Does it take time to break a relationship, friends? What needs a lot of effort, is to maintain that relationship through the ups and downs of life, to the peaks and valleys of life, to the crests and troughs of life, to the highs and lows of life. It needs a lot of substance to one's character to be able to maintain that relationship, which in this century we just don't see. At a drop of a hat, relationships break. Whether it's friendships, whether it's affairs, whether it's marriage, at the drop of a hat, relationships break. Creation is easy. Destruction is easy. Maintenance, very difficult. Exercise, I'm sure all of you have experience of exercise, na? Starting, मैं जिम जाऊंगा, जिम. You see a Salman Khan, Amir Khan with 6-pack, and you have a family pack. You want to become like him? Look grand and smart. And with full enthu you go. And the coach says, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 9, bus. 6, 7, 8, bus. That's what this guy says. My God. Starting So simple. Stopping, so simple. It's a Friday evening. Monday से शुरू करूंगा वापस. 2 दिन छुट्टी थोड़ा एक्सरसाइज के लिए. So simple, you know. But maintaining a regular schedule of yoga, aerobics, workout takes a lot, Baba. A lot. Studying. Simple. You see, anyone studying hard and coming first, मैं भी आऊंगा first. मैं कोई इतना गया गुजरूं, I'll also come. That day, books. Starts. Goes on for 2 days, 3 days, 1 week. My God. Then exam comes. ऐसे भी कुछ होता नहीं, अपने से छोड़ दे. One guy went to the exam hall and the question paper was MCQs only, multiple choice question. तो उसको कुछ नहीं आता था. So he took out a 1 rupee coin from his pocket. Tossing. Head, take, tail, wrong. Head, take, tail, wrong. So he kept doing this. 5 मिनट में 1 घंटे का पेपर खत्म करके उसने हेड टेल करना है, बस उसमें क्या है, finished. And he didn't even leave the hall. Sat in the hall for 50 minutes. Last 5 मिनट बाकी था ना, फिर कॉइन निकाला और पैनिक ही, टॉसिंग. So the supervisor इसे रास्कल तेरा हो गया ना, 5 मिनट में टॉसिंग करके कर दिया तू, और 50 मिनट बैठा लास्ट में बोला आंसर राइट है क्या रॉन्ग है देख रहा हूं. टॉसिंग दिस कॉइन टू सी वेदर द आंसर्स आर राइट. In MCQ, you can imagine. My goodness. I'll tell you, starting to study na, it's pretty simple. एक बार 4 विकेट डाउन होता है ना, to stop study, simple. हमारे लिए नहीं है ये पढ़ाई. Not meant for us. One guy failed his exam, came home. Father is asking, बेटा क्या हुआ रिजल्ट का? बोला प्रोफेसर का बेटा फेल हो गया. बोला यू नॉट, आई एम आस्किंग यू. सुनने, एक डॉक्टर का हम बेटा है ना हमारे लिए, वो भी फेल हो गया. इडियट, आई एम आस्किंग यू व्हाट हैपेंड टू योर रिजल्ट्स. लॉयर का बेटा भी फेल हो गया. नाउ फादर गेव अ टाइट स्लैप, व्हाट अबाउट यू मैन? ही सेड डॉक्टर का बेटा फेल हो गया, प्रोफेसर का बेटा फेल हो गया, लॉयर का बेटा फेल हो गया. आप क्या एल्बर्ट आइंस्टाइन है, आपका बेटा पास होगा? My goodness, you can imagine these guys. Oh, to start something and to stop something is easy. To maintain, na? Challenge. Thomas Andrew created the Titanic in a few years and destroyed in a moment by the iceberg. To maintain that ship going, na, would have been a big challenge, and they made a severe blunders which we will discuss as we talk today. Couldn't maintain. Creation was there, destruction was there. Where is maintenance? Even spiritual life is like that. Hare Krishna जब शुरू करना, सिंपल है. एग्जाम स्ट्रेस है, दिल टूट गया, कुछ तो हो गया, माला. Simple. And some friends come and say, तू बूढ़ा हो गया, ये माला क्या पकड़ता? Stop. To maintain our spiritual commitments, our chanting of Hare Krishna, our following of the path of righteousness, virtue, and the path of Krishna consciousness, spirituality, is a challenge to maintain. You know what? All of us are governed by what is called as the 3 modes of material nature. The mode of goodness, the mode of passion, and the mode of ignorance. Sattva, Rajas, and Tamas. You know what the mode of passion is about? Creating. You know what the mode of ignorance is about? Destroying. You know what the mode of goodness is about? Maintaining. You require mode of goodness to maintain commitments in life. Mode of passion can make us create things. And in the mode of passion, we don't see reality. Mode of passion blinds us. It's about gaining more, acquiring more. I want it, man. I want it, man. I want it. Come on, get. I want more. Give me more. Mode of passion doesn't allow us to see life objectively. Doesn't allow us to see life with clarity. Doesn't allow us to see the reality of life. Blinds us.
Money blinds us. Lust blinds us. Greed blinds us. Mode of passion is symptomized by lust and greed. Primarily by lust and greed. Money cannot see what is right, cannot, kaisa bhi mile chalega. Lust blinds people. What they will do, who knows? Mode of passion, creation, blinds to reality. Mode of ignorance is just stupor, destruction of life, practically wasting life, doing nothing but sleeping, madness, indolence, intoxication, tamas. Mode of ignorance. Mode of goodness. Tatra sattva nirmalatvat prakasham anamayam prakashayati anamayam. Sattva, the mode of goodness, prakashayati, illuminates. In that illumination, we can see with clarity. Most of us lack clarity in seeing. We're not able to see things clearly. We're not able to judge things clearly. We're not able to come to the right conclusions about life. Because we are overwhelmed either by mode of passion, rajogun, or mode of ignorance, tamogun. But when sattva gun comes, tatra sattva nirmalatvat prakashayati. Prakashayati, illuminates. You know what the people in the mode of passion say? Hey man, life is like an ice cream. That's mode of passion. Life is like an ice cream. Enjoy it before it melts. है ना? Ice cream लेंगे first class. Now you have a first class Baskin Robbins butterscotch. What is the use if you don't enjoy it before melting? So what do these guys say? Just do it, man. Enjoy life. Before the ice cream melts, enjoy life. So you can't see life with clarity because the only thing on the mind is enjoy. Just do it. Passion rolls like that. You know what the mode of goodness is? You know what they say? They say life is like a candle. Before it melts away, illuminate the room. Ice cream melts and candle melts. But when ice cream melts, we are only concerned before ice cream melts, let me enjoy it. When a candle melts, we say before the candle melts, let me see how it can illuminate the room. Ladies and gentlemen, friends and devotees, guests, it is very important to conclude and understand that sattva guna, mode of goodness, illuminates, makes us see with crystal clarity. People who will live a life in the mode of goodness, their lifestyle is based on sattva. You can see their analysis of anything, whether it's a software, whether it's hardware, whether it is the Gita, whether it is life, whether it is a life issue, they can see with clarity. Because prakashayati anamayam, And thus, the three modes are represented by the Trinity in our Vedic Dharma. In our Sanatana Dharma, we find the three modes being represented by Brahma, Lord Vishnu, and Lord Shiva. We find the mode of passion or Rajoguna headed by Lord Brahma. Creation is his job. We find the mode of ignorance headed by Lord Shiva. Destruction, finishing off is his job. We find Lord Vishnu doing the toughest of all job, maintenance. I appeal to all of you here this evening. It's very, very important to start cultivating a life in the mode of goodness. And therefore, the first lesson for this evening from the sinking of the RMS Titanic is creation is easy, destruction is easy, maintenance is extremely difficult. If your life is like a ship, creating your relationships, creating your academic scores, creating accolades, creating a name for yourself, you will need some effort, but you will do it if you are perseverant and determined. And destroying it takes not much time. But to continue with the same thing and maintain it throughout your lives needs a lot. We have to learn how to cultivate a life in the mode of goodness. We appeal to all of you to come here regularly. Time is short today to describe to you how to cultivate that life mode of goodness. But we appeal to all of you young boys and guests here to come here on a regular basis, to learn, how to cultivate goodness in life, how to bring sattva out of the passion, the madness, the indolence, the ignorance, how to bring that goodness. I promise you and assure you, based on the words of Krishna in the Gita, we will look and see with a deep amount of clarity when we cultivate goodness. And each of you, as students, as professionals, whatever you do in your life, you will have a cutting edge over all your colleagues and competitors because you have clarity. You're not driven by simply enjoy the ice cream. You're driven by illuminate through the candle. And therefore, this is our lesson, first lesson for today. Creation is easy, destruction is easy, maintenance is difficult, and we can only do it with sattva. Tatra, sattva, nirmalatvat, prakashayati, anamayam. These men on the RMS Titanic failed to see something. They couldn't see with clarity. Thomas Andrew built such a massive ship, but he couldn't see with that amount of clarity. He was a nice man, lacked that clarity. You know what? My goodness. They boasted. She boasted. This was a ship that even God could not sink. And in its maiden voyage, the first voyage, the Titanic was gone. Gone. Just a couple of decades back, they found the wreckage. And after they found the wreckage, there was so much discussion on it. People who survived were interviewed, movies were made, books were written. In fact, there are cookbooks on the Titanic. What was the last menu on the Titanic? A recipe, a cookbook at Titanic. Did you know there's a cookbook called the Titanic? Recipes that food that they ate on the Titanic. Quite incredible. They've come up with so many amazing books. Everyone on the Titanic, all the passengers, the crew, the captains, the first officers, the second officers, everyone believed no one can do anything at all to this ship. Quite interesting, isn't it? And just look at what happened. News report from the Boston Daily. Titanic sinks, 1,500 die. Carpathia picks up 675 out of 2,200. Races for New York. Survivors mostly women and children. That ship that even God could not sink, on its maiden voyage, sank. I do feel there is a very important message for all of us here. We must learn something from this. You know something? They say, pride cometh before the fall. You can make things as big, you can be as successful, as ambitious. But when there is pride, God knows how to crush that pride to powder. I have been a speaker for years now. And sometimes, I give talks and people are like sitting and hearing, most are sleeping. Nevertheless, they're there. They're there for whatever time they sit and hear. And most times people come and say, Babuji, kya lecture tha? Maja aa gaya, Babuji. Maja aa gaya. Kya sunaya aapne? Bola, kya samjha? Oh, joke acha tha, Babuji. Hare Krishna. This is what I gave the talk for. But there was one man, only one so far in my whole career as a speaker and a teacher here. One man came up to me and said to me, I hate your lectures. This is the first time. मैं तो सोच रहा था मैं एकदम first class सब करके जो बोला I hate your lectures. So I asked him, you hate me? He said, सोचना पड़ेगा. I said, look at this guy. I was so humbled. I went to my College of Engineering, Pune. He was from there. He was one of the alumni, so was I. So there was an alumni program. I was invited as a keynote speaker. I went for the speech. I was all prepared for what to say. All my notes were there, my mind was prepared, my words were there. I had already visualized myself standing at the dais speaking, how the students would, all was visualization was done. So it was peanuts. I've been doing it all my life. I'll tell you something. That day, this guy was sitting at the back, way back in the program, and he was standing up and hearing my talk. And just 2-3 weeks back, he had told me, I hate your lectures. I'll tell you, it happened several times, but this time, the fiasco that I did in my lecture, you cannot imagine. Everything was here. I knew everything. My lecture notes were all there. But just couldn't speak. Spoke something, of course students didn't detect. After 15-18 years of speaking, कुछ भी बोला तो उनको तो कुछ फर्क, बोले हाँ अच्छा लगा तो. But for me, I knew I wasn't together. It was a big failure. When I came back, it is Pune, on my return in the car, 2 students, alumni were with me, Sagar Wadekar and one more guy, Rahul. I was talking to them what could have been the reason for this mess up, goof up. Many reasons. But one reason was pride. Pride, you know. It's no problem doing big things, ambitious things, successful. Titanic success. But when there is pride, that success is a failure. You know. With pride, success is a failure. And with humility, an apparent failure is a success. Because you can come out of that failure. You see. Quite amazing how everyone is proud. Even a beggar is proud. Beggar also is proud. You know. One beggar at the Dadar bridge. You know. He came and asked one other old beggar, सुना है तूने अपनी बेटी की शादी फिक्स की है? बोला हाँ, सुना दहेज भी दे रहा है बहुत बड़ा. हाँ, क्या दहेज दे रहा है दामाद को? बोला पूरा दादर ब्रिज, जिधर बैठना बैठ के भी no problem. You know, how people will take pride in begging? Begging? As they say in English that the pauper is proud of his penny. You know. You have these 3 guys who were talking to each other, 3 boys, school boys. One guy said, my father is so great, he's an archer. Such a great man, he shoots the arrow and before the arrow reaches, he reaches there. Mere pitaji aise. The second guy said, Tere pitaji, my father is a gun shooter. Faster than the arrow speed the bullet goes. Before bullet reaches, he goes and he's not Rajnikant. It reaches there. The third guy said, what are you talking? Your father is an archer, he reaches before the arrow. Your father is a shooter, reaches before the bullet. My father is greater than both of your father. He's a government servant. You know, his office ends at 5, he reaches home at 2. You know, I'll tell you how people will take pride in doing things. People will take pride in religion. बाकी तो छोड़ो, धर्म में प्राइड लेंगे. गाना क्या गाएंगे? देवा हो देवा गणपति देवा तुमसे बढ़कर कौन, स्वामी तुमसे बढ़कर कौन, और तुम्हारे भक्त गणों में हमसे बढ़कर कौन, स्वामी हमसे. Imagine. They won't spare religion to show that they are the ones who are सबसे अच्छा devotee. मैं. It's not his devotee. I am his devotee. I. Big. You know, even in the English language, the word, the alphabet I is the only alphabet, apart from proper nouns, wherever in the sentence it comes, it's supposed to be written in capital. Against the laws of grammar. How can you write like that? But, hey, I. Has to be capital, Baba. Has to be capital. Can you imagine? Jesus said in the Bible, and all our scriptures say, pride cometh before the fall. History has seen many episodes. Ravan, Duryodhan, Hiranyakashipu, Hiranyaksha. The histories of our Vedic Sanatan Dharma has seen so many people who are proud and were destroyed. Duryodhan was so proud, he didn't allow the royal umbrella over his head. मेरे से ऊपर छतरी भी नहीं हो सकता. He didn't even allow the royal umbrella over his head. Pride. Quite incredible. Someone said, what is the daily job of God? One king asked a minister, what is the daily job of God? The minister said, creation. The king said, rascal, creation is once. After creation, what does God do? I said, I don't know. Said, so if you can't tell by tomorrow, your head will be cut. Bola, aisa kaisa? Wohin bola cut? So he was walking back home and that night he saw a farmer. The farmer said, मंत्री साहब आप बहुत टेंशन में लग रहे, क्या हुआ? बोला वो राजा पूछता है भगवान का काम क्या है रोज का. मुझे मालूम नहीं, कल नहीं बताऊं तो सर कर जाए। बोला मैं बताता हूं। बोला यू आर अ फार्मर, व्हाट यू सेड यू टेक मी, आई विल टेल। सो ही वेंट एंड द किंग वाज सिटिंग ऑन अ थ्रोन लाइक दैट, यू नो दैट विक्रमादित्य काइंड ऑफ थ्रोन, लाइक स्टेप स्टेप होता है, ऊपर ऐसा राजा बैठता है वैसा, दैट काइंड ऑफ थ्रोन। एंड द फार्मर केम विद द मिनिस्टर। द किंग सेड सो व्हाट इज द डेली जॉब ऑफ गॉड, यू क्लेम टू नो ना। ही सेड पहले तो नीचे उतर फिर बताता हूं, यू गेट डाउन। So he walked all the way from the steps down and came down, and this guy farmer went and sat on the throne. And he asked, अभी पूछ क्या है? नॉलेज नीचे से ऊपर नहीं जाता, ऊपर से नीचे आता है, तो पहले नीचे बैठे थे राजा। Then he asked, now ask your questions. So the king said, rascal, you're sitting on the throne, now tell me what is the daily job of God? The farmer said, this is the daily job of God. To pull down from top those who are proud and to uplift those who are humble. You know, that is the daily job of God. To bring down those who are proud and to put up on a pedestal those who are humble. It's quite incredible, you know. Contemporary history has seen enough examples. You probably know this gentleman, John Lennon from the Beatles. He said, there is no one more famous than the Beatles. Even the Christ was not famous. No one is more famous. No one, even God cannot budge us from our fame. Within a year of saying so, he was gone. You know? I don't know if you've ever seen this gentleman called Tancredo Neves. He was the president of Brazil. Before being elected as the president of Brazil, he said, if I get 500,000 votes, even God cannot budge me from the position of the president. You know, he said, 5 लाख वोट मिला ना तो भगवान भी मेरी कुर्सी से उतार नहीं सकते मुझे प्रेसिडेंट से. He won 500,000 votes. He was elected the president of Brazil. And a day before the swearing, he died. Day before the swearing ceremony, this man died. You know, this guy was a bisexual guy. Cazuza was his name. Very popular singer, Spanish. One day, in his concert, he was smoking, and while smoking, he did this, releasing the smoke in the air, and said, God, this is for you. 6 months later, he contracted terminal cancer of his lungs and died. I'm not speaking Bhagavat, Atharva Ved, Rig Ved. I'm talking contemporary history of how people have been humbled. You know, humility is a very, very important quality because that is what truly uplifts a person. Be successful. Be successful in your careers, your professions, no problem. But cultivating the virtue of humility is very, very important, you know. You have known Sir Albert Einstein, you know. My God, this man was a student of the Gita. And he said, the only one thing I want to understand is the mind of God. Everything else is a detail. Every other thing in my science is a detail. All I want to understand is the mind of God, you know. Amazing. And he described what his relativity theory was in one line. He said, relativity of space and time theory is this. When a guy is with a girl, 1 hour seems like 1 moment. And when the guy is sitting on burning coal, 1 second seems like 1 hour. Relativity of time. That was Einstein. I read his quote. He said, this is the relativity theory of space and time. This man had tremendous humility. Tremendous humility. You know. Sir Isaac Newton, one who found out the laws of motion, gravitational pull, gravitational force. Such a powerful scientist, again a student of the Gita. He was on the banks, he was on the shores of an ocean, and there were some pebbles lying there. He picked up one of the pebbles and said, my knowledge compared to God's knowledge is like a pebble in front of the ocean. What am I? What is my knowledge? Nothing at all. That time he was working on a particular branch of mathematics. He decided to name that branch of mathematics Pebbles, based on his humility. Pebbles. What is this? Nothing compared to what God knows. You know what the name is? In Latin, pebble is called calculus. Calculus means pebbles. And when we study calculus, it's about to bring humility. People will solve calculus problem. Kaisa correct kya problem dekhne. The very word calculus means humility. Humus. Pebbles. You know, quite amazing. Isaac Newton. Anyone knows the gentleman? Anyone at all in this audience? No? I'll tell you who he is in a couple of minutes from now. This man was, walking once and came to a train station, boarded the train in France, and a young guy, full of passion and gusto, came and sat right opposite to this man. And he was fingering his beads, like we have our Japamala. He had his mala, the rosary beads, and he was chanting Hail Marys on his rosary beads. So the guy sitting in opposite him, he said, "You oldie, what are you doing? There's nothing like God and everything, man. Why are you wasting your time on all of this stuff? Come on, throw your beads away. Do some tangible work, do something constructive." So okay, he tried to explain to this young fellow, didn't hear nothing. Kuchko kya samajh ko, chilla raha tha wo bas. Then this fellow asked him, "Where are you going, by the way?" He said, "I'm going to the Louis Pasteur Institute to do my PhD." So really wonderful, said Terra. And after the train station arrived, this guy said, "Okay, goodbye, have a good time in your institute," and all of that. This guy said, "Can I have your card at all?" He gave his card, and the train moved on. This guy was frantically, "I am going to Louis Pasteur, Louis Pasteur famous for pasteurization of milk." And then he saw the visiting card, Louis Pasteur. Louis Pasteur. With all the scientific knowledge he had the humility to say, "No, I have limitations in my science. Science is to support God's version of the world, not to contradict and object that version given by God." There are two words in Sanskrit. One is called Vijay, second is called Vinay. Vijay means victory. Vinay means humility. Vijay brings pride in the heart. Therefore, when someone comes and touches the feet, they say, "Vijayi Bhava." I feel we should also say, "Vinayi Bhava." With all the success, to be able to maintain a spirit of humility. That no, I'm nothing. In front of God, I'm nothing. God can sink any ship. And the classic example is Arjun from the Mahabharata. What a Vijayi man he was. On the battlefield of Kurukshetra, 18 Akshauhini divisions of soldiers, millions of soldiers, an 18-day battle that the world has never seen. A war that the world has never seen. Here in this country on the plains of Kurukshetra. What a success this man was. He was the epitome and the zenith of all manhood. He was the epitome and zenith of all warriors. Powerful. Vijay was his. Victory was his. They got the throne of Hastinapur. Couple of years later, Lord Krishna wound up his earthly pastimes and departed for the spiritual world after establishing dharma samsthapanarthaya, vinashaya cha dushkritam, paritranaya. He left for the spiritual kingdom. In Dwarka, all the queens of Lord Krishna were unprotected. Arjun, he went to Dwarka to bring all the queens to Hastinapur. So all the queens would be under his surveillance and protection now that Lord Krishna had gone. They would all be under the banner of Chhatrapati Samrat Yudhishthir Maharaj. He went to bring them. And as he was coming back on the way, some insignificant, skinny, thin, weaklings, not even warriors, cowherd men, gwalas, they came and they fought with Arjun. They didn't have bows, they didn't have arrows, they didn't have chariots, they didn't have expertise, they didn't have any of that stuff. All they had was sticks to herd cows. And Arjun was fighting with them. Guess what? These few infidel cowherds defeated Arjun in the battle. and took away all the queens of Lord Krishna. That same Arjun who was Vijayi on the battlefield of Kurukshetra with all success in his hat was a massive failure. Was a massive failure. You know what his conclusion was? Tadvai dhanush ta ishavah rathohayaste soham rathi nripatayo yat amananti. मेरा वही धनुष है, अग्नि ने दिया हुआ वही गांडीव धनुष है. इस धनुष ने सबको पराजित किया था कुरुक्षेत्र की रणभूमि पर. वही धनुष है आज मेरे पास. मे बी द एरोज आर डिफरेंट. नो. तद्वै धनुष त ईशवा. द एरोज आर द सेम. द वेपन्स गिवन बाय द सेलेस्टियल देवास इन माय क्विवर, inexhaustible quiver of arrows. Maybe the chariot is different? No. Rathaha, the same chariot given by Agni. Maybe the horses are different? No. The same horses, steeds, stallions given by Chitraratha Gandharva. The chariot is the same, the arrows are the same, the bow is the same, the horses are the same. Have I changed? Soham Rathi. I am the same Rathi, Maharathi warrior. I am the same man Arjun, the pinnacle of all success. I am the same Arjun. Yatan Ripatayo Amananti. All emperors would bow down at our feet. Today I lost. I lost? How did I lose? How did it all happen? Sarvam kshanena tadabhud asad isha riktam. एक क्षण में, in a moment, काया पलट हो गया जी. एक moment में, a man who was successful turned to be a failure. Of course, Krishna had his purpose. His purpose was served and he wanted everyone to come back Arjun, so he did it. That's a whole different story. We are discussing Arjun's response. What did Arjun say? Isha riktam. What gave success to my chariot? Me, my arrows, my bow, my horses. Krishna, God. Isha riktam. Now that he has gone, all my efforts are futile. Like trying to put ghee on ashes, will the fire come? Like trying to create money by waving a magical wand, there's no money, where will it come? It's like trying to cultivate crops in a barren land, what will come out of it? No success. It requires vinay. It requires great humility to acknowledge that there are factors beyond our control to get success in what we do. Beyond our control. And that was one thing that the RMS Titanic lacked. They boasted that this is a ship that even God cannot sink. God said, okay. Of course, God doesn't have to do this petty things of sinking ships. God doesn't have to come to sink these petty ships. Don't think Krishna did it. Material nature, Maya, is sufficient to humble people on behalf of Krishna. Krishna doesn't get involved with this petty RMS Titanics. See? Why Krishna has to bother with petty RMS Titanics? Friends, the lesson for this evening, our second lesson, I have 16 and I won't be covering them. I don't want to bore you more. One or two I will do and we will stop. You know, I have 16 lessons. I had 25. I cut down to 16 and we are on 2. Doesn't matter. Carry home message is important, is it not? What we carry back, we may carry 4 lessons. But like I mentioned in the beginning, if it could add some value to your lives, it's worthwhile. You see? Lesson 2, pride cometh before the fall, and humility is the key to progress. Vijay and Vinay. Be victorious, be thou successful, along with the genuine feelings of humility like Arjun had, that my success depends in the hands of the Almighty. A little bit about the third reason, third point for this evening. The Titanic wasn't much about being so big. The Titanic was a competition to the Olympic. RMS Titanic was conceived as a competition to RMS Olympic, which was another ship. You know, both ships were run by White Star Line Company from New York. But when Thomas Andrews and White Star Line, of course, saw The RMS Olympic, goodness, the RMS Olympic was such a ship, high-speeded, luxurious, comforts, cruise liner, but couldn't stand. वो क्यों? मैं क्यों नहीं? कितने के मन में ऐसे आया है दूसरे को देख के? वो क्यों? मैं क्यों नहीं? Why is he having this? Why I don't? Why does he have a MacBook Pro? He's a spadu. Why I don't? You know? Why is he having a nice, some beautiful girlfriend? Why not me? Why does he only stand first? How many of you have got this emotion in your mind saying, why not me, on seeing someone else? Right. Is it not? Are we talking of something far stretched with the Olympic, RMS Olympic and the RMS Titanic? It was born in competition, you know, born in competition to compete. And therefore, lesson 3 out of the RMS Titanic is, one deadly emotion that we all go through is comparison. We keep comparing, isn't it? Keep comparing. Result निकलता तो मेरा मार्क नहीं देखता, उसका कितना अरे खुद का देख ले रिजल्ट. प्रॉब्लम है, खुद का देख, पास हुआ फेल हो गया, नहीं उसको 4 में फेल हो गया, मैं 3 ही में फेल हो गया, मैं ग्रेट हूं. You know what I mean? I'm great. He failed in 4, I only failed in 3 only. Comparison. People compare their gadgets, don't they? मेरे पास नोकिया 300 456 है, उसके पास यार आईफोन 5 है, लॉन्च भी नहीं हुआ, आ गया उसके पास. लॉन्च भी नहीं हुआ अभी तक आ गया उसके पास. अमेजिंग, यू नो, इनक्रेडिबल. Comparing gadgets, comparing husbands, comparing wives, comparing family, comparing children. They say when two couples meet each other, na, the wives look at each other's saris and the husband look at each other's wives. Always comparing. Always comparing. Constant comparison. Can you imagine? Comparing. 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 You know what it leads to? Envy and insecurity. It leads to envy and insecurity. Envious. इतना जलता है कि बाहर को बास मारता है, बाहर वाले को अंदर से. You know what's the difference between envy and jealousy? The difference between envy and jealousy is passive, envy is active. For example, if you see this machine of mine and if you feel jealous of me, आप केवल सोचते रहेंगे ये टकले के पास ना, टकले के पास. But you won't do anything. It's a passive feeling. You know what envy is? इसके पास मैक हो गया, इसके पास में गए, थोड़ा बाहर जा, पत्ता लगे, तोड़ दे इसको. That is envy. You know, the difference between jealousy and envy is jealousy is a passive feeling. Envy is an active expression of that passive feeling of jealousy. छोड़ूंगा नहीं इसको, मैं दिखा के रहूंगा, तोड़ के दिखाऊंगा, फोड़ के दिखाऊंगा, कुछ तो करके दिखाऊंगा. मैं बड़ा हूं यार, ये क्यों? Why not me? Why him or her? Why Olympic? Titanic. You know, you think we are not like this? We see an Olympic and we try to become a Titanic to compete because insecurity and envy. In fact, the names of the ships came like that. Do you know? The names of the ship. Olympus is the name of a Greek god. And that Greek god ke basis pe the name came ship RMS Olympic. And the origin of all Greek gods, Jai Shri Radha Gopinath ki, Shri Lalita Vishakha ki, Jai Shri Gaur Nitai ki, Shri Gopal ji Bhagwan ki, Srila Prabhupada ki, Jai Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari. You know, according to the Greek tradition, Titan or Titan is apparently supposed to be the originator of Olympus. तो इसका नाम ओलंपिक ना, मेरा नाम टाइटेनिक. ये क्या है, थर्ड क्लास में है बड़ा. I am the big one. The names of the ships came from this comparison. Comparison leads to envy and insecurity, and insecurity and envy leads to dirty competition. Competition when it's healthy, na, no problem. Competition to excel yourself. You compare yourself with your previous score, na? Why are you comparing yourself with another score? Last year, this is what I got. Let me compare myself, my current score, how I should improve now. But no, we are so concerned about what others do than I do. And then the heart burns, burns. Peace is gone. Destruction of values is gone. Like the Titanic was gone, our values and our peace and our satisfaction is gone because constantly एक ही दिखता है, उसके पास है, उसके पास है, मेरे पास नहीं. Constantly the mind is focusing on this, Lord Shiva had two devotees and one was envious of the other. Both of them worshipped Lord Shiva with great devotion. And Lord Shiva came in front of the first. He said, "What do you want?" He said, "What did the other guy ask?" अरे तू मांगो ना, उसका क्यों सोच रहा है? He said, no. Okay, I'll tell you. First you go and ask him. What do you want? So he went to the other fellow. Said, "What do you want?" He said, "Whatever you give him, now give me double of that." Simple. So Lord Shiva came back again to this first guy. So what did he ask? You want something? What? He said, "He has told me whatever I give you, give him double of that." Said, "Okay, take one of my eyes away." So this guy lost one eye and the other lost both. So this guy went with one eye. कैसा किया मैंने तेरा वांदा कर दिया, वाट लगा दिया, Then again Lord Shiva came. "What do you want?" Said, "Take one of my hands." So इसका एक हाथ गया, उसका दोनों गया. So with one hand and one eye, say, see what I did to it? Again they worshipped Lord Shiva. Lord Shiva came in front of him and said, "What do you want?" Said, "Take one of my legs away." That guy lost both of his legs. Now limping on one leg with one eye, said, hey, see what I did to him? That poor fellow is with no legs, no hands and no eyes, fallen down like a vegetable. This nut, this cranky nut, didn't realize a simple thing. Then in trying to make him lose his two eyes, two hands and two legs, he lost one eye, hand and leg. That is envy. I don't mind losing, but he should lose. The whole Titanic, the conception of the Titanic was in envy, comparison and insecurity. History is history to us. It was over. The ship of life also, we have to be careful of these three things. Don't compare yourself with others. Compare yourself with yourself. What was I yesterday? And how can I be better today? How can I be better tomorrow? Has any athlete ever wanted to keep the same record? Every athlete wants to beat his own record. Forget about others. I want to beat my own record before I beat others' records. Friends, ladies, gentlemen, it is very crucial that we compare our performance today with our performance yesterday and see how we are better, whether it's academics, whether it's my Krishna consciousness, whether it's my chanting, whether it's my seva to Krishna. How am I doing? To conclude, I'll do one more lesson and then we will have Kirtan. We have 16, so there's no time for 16. The fourth point obviously was warnings. The day the Titanic was on the Atlantic, that day they received 6 warnings from different ships around. They received a warning from RMS Carpathia. They received a warning from RMS Columbia through wireless transmission that there is an iceberg. You are moving in, treading in dangerous areas. Be careful, you can't go there. Don't move there. But कहाँ सुनेंगे जी हम? आप लोगों को भी कितनी बार कितनों ने वार्निंग दिया होगा नहीं? ऐसा मत कर बेटा, जीवन बर्बाद होगा. अब सोचते हैं बुढ़ाऊ लोग क्या समझते हैं, साधु लोग तो उनका काम है प्रवचनबाजी करना, बड़बड़ करते रहते हैं दिन भर. मुझे बोलते उसको छोड़ दे, ऐसा कैसे चलेगा? जीवन दिया उसके लिए, मैंने छोड़ दे. हमारी no sadhu will tell you छोड़ दे in terms of legitimate marriage, but sadhus will tell you to stop illegitimate activities which are like icebergs. Illegitimate activities are like icebergs. Unrighteous, sinful activities are like icebergs. Our life is like a ship. And the captain of the ship is the Guru. Guru Karanadharam. The Bhagavatam explains. Guru Karanadharam. What is the first line? How does that verse begin? I forget the first line of the verse. Nirdeham Adyam Sulubham Sudurlabham Plavam Sukalpam Guru Karanadharam. Plavam Sukalpam. This human body is like a first class, well engineered boat. A ship. RMS Titanic. First class engineered boat. We're not like animals. We're not like animals who can't respond. Who can only react. Animals react intrinsically. We can respond to what comes to our life. We can choose to respond. This is like a beautiful boat to cross through all the problems in life, to cross through the ocean of birth and death. And the Guru is the captain. But you know what? Unrighteousness, sin, wrongdoings is like an iceberg. If the ship of our life comes and collides with an iceberg of unrighteous living, destruction is certain. Destruction of our values, destruction of our peace, destruction of our satisfaction, destruction of our fulfillment is certain. And at the end, probably destruction of our life. Therefore, warnings are given. Iceberg ahead, be careful. And what do we think? Isko kya malum hai? He's left his career and his profession 20 years back. और इधर बैठ के प्रवचनबाजी करते रहते हैं लोग. इनका क्या जाता है प्रवचन देने में? थोड़ा आके हमारे साथ रह के देखो, फिर पता लगेगा. हम लोग 21st सेंचुरी, आप तो पुराने जमाने वाले लोग हैं. बाबा आदम के जमाने के आप लोग. There are warnings that kept coming to the RMS Titanic. Unfortunately, they didn't hear. They thought God cannot sink this ship. What is this Carpathia, Columbia ship sending us these signals? God cannot sink this ship. When the tsunami came in Japan, there is a fish called the messenger of the sea god's palace. You go to anywhere in Japan, they'll tell you, this fish is called this messenger of the sea god's palace. Which means they say there is a sea god inside, and whenever a sea god, Varuna in our tradition, whatever they say, whenever he sees that there is an impending danger from the ocean side, he sends this messenger as a fish on the top of the ocean. This fish never comes out of the water. Only when there is an impending danger because of the ocean does this fish come up to the surface. Therefore it is called the messenger of the sea god's palace. Comes as a messenger to tell you destruction is certain. When I was studying my electrical engineering, I was doing some research in certain areas, and when I was on one particular semester, I was to give a talk, on what is it called? I forget the name of seismography. Measuring the intensity of earthquakes, studying earthquakes, measuring the intensity of earthquakes, and seeing if we could improvise the quality of measurements, to suggest improvised measurements. That was my project, And studying all books related to earthquakes. One thing I read was, there are things called as rattlesnakes. Just before an earthquake, these rattlesnakes come out of their burrows, as if to tell you that there's something impending danger is coming. You know what? People from the meteorological department there in Japan, they were told by the fishermen that this fish has come up, this fish never comes up, and it has been a tradition. Anytime this fish comes up, there has been a catastrophe. These fishes are coming out in plenties. There is a danger. Do something about it. And all the officers, the leaders at the meteorological department said, Andhashraddha. What are you talking? All this blind faith, blind belief. Get lost, man. There's nothing like that in our meteorology. Get lost. In a day, there was a massive tsunami. Warnings were there. Messengers were there. If only we would have heard those warnings. Friends and guests, it's very, very important to hear this fourth lesson for this evening. That sadhus, saintly people, well-wishers, experienced people keep telling us, warning us, don't take this path, there'll be danger. Give some value to it. Don't throw it down the drain. Like the captains and the officers on the RMS Titanic. Destruction was inevitable when the iceberg came, and so will be our lives if we come and clash with the iceberg of lack of virtue. You know. Last but not the least, lesson 5. In Scotland, there lived a family, a poor family. The name of the family was the Clark family. They were farmers. Mr. Clark had 4 children, and of course a wife. 6 of them, of course a wife, 6 of them were living together, simple farmers. When Mr. Clark heard that Thomas Andrews has made the Titanic and White Star Line in New York has purchased the Titanic to make it a luxury cruise liner, the dream of Mr. Clark was, I want to be on that voyage. Mr. Clark saved every farthing. A poor family. They starved and famished, practically speaking, and saved a lot of money. It was expensive ride. They saved money so that the whole family can go on this first luxury cruise liner, the RMS Titanic. April 10th, 1912, when from Southampton the Titanic moved out, Mr. Clark from Scotland was standing at the port at Southampton, weeping and crying tears that he cannot board the RMS Titanic. Why? Because a dog had bitten one of his sons, and he was quarantined. He could not move out because of health and medical safety. He could not go on board the ship. Consequently, he could not go, so the whole family could not go. All the money was gone. It was non-refundable. No money could come back. Everything that they worked for, he worked for, was gone. The dream voyage on the choppy waters of the Atlantic, gone. He cried, wept bitterly, you know. And guess what? In a few days he heard the news when White Star Line announced at 2:20 a.m. on the 14th of April 1912 that with great regret we have to announce that RMS Titanic is sunk. News spread immediately. It came to Mr. Clark. And can you guess his emotion? Oh, he was happy. अरे अच्छा हो गया, कौन सा कुत्ता है, उसको माला पहनाना पड़ेगा, मेरे बेटे को कौन सा कुत्ता काटा. अरे जान बची यार, कुत्ता काटा लेकिन जान बची मेरी. You can imagine? Quite amazing. And I was thinking, quite an incredible thing, isn't it? Good and bad in this world is so relative. Something that seems to be apparently bad turns out to be good. Something that seems to be apparently very good turns out to be bad. At face value, can you call any situation in life good or bad? I don't think so. I don't think so. If you at face value say this is good, in 2 days you will find that same thing has become bad for you. And if you call something this is bad happening, in 2 days you will find that has become good for you. Sri Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, in his Chaitanya Charitamrita, which is the holy book of the Gaudiya Vaishnavas, the line that we follow, the parampara that we follow, he says, all this good and bad is what? Keval manera bhram. It's all just perceptions of my mind. This is good, this is bad, this is bad, this is good. Jai Shri Shri Radha Gopinath Lalita Vishakha Devi ki, Shri Shri Nitai Gaur Chandra Bhagwan ki, Shri Gopal ji ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaur Premanande Hari Hari. I'll conclude with this last lesson. Don't worry, this is the last one for sure. मतलब 16 है तो 5 तो कर ही देते हैं. Good figure, auspicious figure, 5. You know, my God, you can imagine Mr. Clark, ecstatic, joyful, very, very blissful that he was saved, you know. Bad, good, what is good? What is bad? क्या अच्छा है, क्या बुरा है ना? परीक्षा में फेल हो गए, अच्छा है कि बुरा है? हरे कृष्णा. बड़ा विस्फोटक सवाल पूछा है मैंने. What is good, what is bad, isn't it? I'll tell you something. There was once a bird, and this bird used to always migrate towards the east.
Because the winters in the Western world are so cold, the birds migrate east. All the birds migrated except a little buzzard, a small, tiny little bird, a non-conformist bird who didn't want to conform with everyone else. वो जाएंगे तो मैं क्यों जाऊं? मैं करके दिखाऊंगी इधर, रह के दिखाऊंगी इधर ठंडे विंटर में, दिखा दूंगी सबको कि मैं भी बिना किधर गए ठंडे विंटर में जी सकती हूं, स्वेटर भी नहीं पहना. This bird decided not to go, stayed there. Reality dawned on the bird in a few hours when all the others had left. And you can't go alone now. In a formation, it becomes easier. This one bird left, freezing cold, minus 33 degrees Celsius. And this bird turned into a kulfi and fell down on the ground, hit the ground like a hard kulfi, still living though, life was still there. And as the bird was thinking, मैं जाती तो कितना अच्छा होता, मैं इसने गलत किया, ऐसा नहीं करना चाहिए था, like started crying. And suddenly a cow came, passing by, and the cow was feeling a great urge to relieve itself. Now as the cow was passing by and it relieved itself, not just happened to be so, the cow did it on the bird. And a big chunk of cow dung fell on the bird. And the bird said, "Ek, baas kaun marta hai? Ye kya hai? You know, what is this nonsense? You know, this cow dung wale mein aajkal this cow, who is there hitting me like this? Arey, mar rahi hai." It was bad, stinking. Suddenly, the cow dung was very warm. Started getting the warmth, you know. Garam hai. बच गई रे बाबा, बच गई मैं. I'm thinking it's good. Just 2 minutes back she was thinking this cow dung is bad, stinking. Now as it started getting warm, अच्छा हो गया, इसने मेरे पे किया, कहीं और नहीं किया. And she was so happy, this bird. Suddenly the bird started singing, you know. Started singing. And there was another huge bird migrating east. बोला ये सब चिंटू लोग तो गए, ये चिंटी का आवाज कहां से आ रहा है? And tracing the path of the sound, the bird came to the cow dung. And the bird with the beak started taking the cow dung off. Meanwhile, in this much time, the bird was very warm now. So he was thinking, how nice, now I am being freed. अभी तो मैं कर रहा हूं, अभी निकल गया है सब cow dung. How nice I am being freed. And as the cow dung was taken, this huge bird ate this little bird away as a feast. As this bird started thinking how bad that the cow dung was taken away. Arey, what is good, what is bad is such a relative thing in this world, is it not? You know what? In all of this, what matters a lot is attitude. Good comes and bad comes. We get too much carried away by the good, don't we? Too much carried away by the good. And we get too much depressed by the bad, don't we? We just don't live in a realistic world. Just get carried away, excited, hyper about our successes, and depressed like a crooning pigeon, a bilious crooning pigeon because of our failures. Attitude counts a lot when good and bad comes. This gentleman, Thomas Alva Edison, at the age of 67, this man made a factory in America. Several $1 million worth factory. And the whole factory was on flames, burning to ashes. Thomas, 67 years old man, बुढ़ापे में कर रहा है काम, अभी factory बना के बैठा है. He was standing there, burning flames, his white, grey hair, silvery hair shining in the flames of the fire, and he had a smile on his face. His son, panicky, running here, there, everywhere and saying, Papa, Papa, why are you smiling? He said, go get your mama. He said, what are you talking, father? You're asking to get mother? Mother, what will she do? He said, she will never see such a spectacular fire in her life again. Bring her. Who was that guy? Thomas Alva Edison said, get your mother. So he got the mother. And all the father, son and the mother were watching. Of course, they tried to take the fire off. It didn't go. They lost everything. Insurance was only a part of that was insured. They lost everything. The next day, Thomas Alva Edison was on a walk with his wife. And as both of them were walking,
The wife asked, Thomas, can I ask you a question? Yesterday, when the factory was being burnt down to ashes, why were you smiling? He said, who said the factory is burnt to ashes? He said, Thomas. Are you all right? Looks like you haven't slept well. The whole factory is burnt down to ashes. We saw it. It's ashes and rubble there. So who said the factory is burnt down to ashes? All our mistakes have been burnt down to ashes. We'll start anew from tomorrow. My God, imagine that man. Imagine that man. To have an attitude like that. When bad comes now, to see the bad as good, to see the bad as good and grow from it, needs a man with a certain mettle. There was a very famous Christian preacher. His name was Henry Beecher. Englishman. And this Englishman, he was in London giving a sermon. Thousands of people would come to hear him. And they would write their problems on pieces of paper and send these pieces of paper to him, and then he would address those problems. One day, there were always people who didn't like him, like that guy who said, I hate your lectures. So one day, one guy wrote on one piece of paper only one word in the center in big letters. Fool. That means you're a fool. So this guy got it. And then Henry Beecher said, you know what? All my life, I've received so many chits, where people wrote what they wanted to write but forgot to sign their name. Today, the guy has forgot to write the problem, he's only signed his name today, saying fool. I'll tell you, when one is insulted, humiliated, there are problems, difficulties, when bad comes, to see the good side in it is very difficult, to see that everything happens for a reason. I'll conclude with the final story of today. A lecture on Titanic, learning lessons from a 100-year-old disaster. Beyond this positive attitude of thinking that everything happens for a reason, is to think that Krishna, God, has sent this to me so that I grow. There was a king and he had a minister, and the minister would always say, everything happens for good. God does it to us. Everything happens for good. The king would keep saying, Sab kaisa good bolta hai re tu? Nahi, hota hai, sab good ke liye hota hai. One day the king was cutting an apple at his dining table and his finger got cut. He turned to the minister. Your Krishna, your God has done this for my good. He said, of course. The king was furious. Rascal, mera finger cut ho gaya, tu bolta hai everything happens for good. Put him behind bars. The minister was put behind bars. The king went on a hunting expedition as his finger was healed now with an entourage of his soldiers. And he got kind of drifted away into the forest. And as he got drifted into the forest, he was alone now, and a group of aborigines, tribals, got hold of the king and took him to a temple of Kali. And the priest said, this is what I wanted, a Narabali, to kill a human being. Acha bakra mila hai. Raja. And as he was about to take the chopper, the guy who was going to chop, as he was about to chop the head, the pujari said, the head priest, stop, stop, stop. You can't offer this guy to Kali, because you cannot make an incomplete offering to Kali. He doesn't have one finger. You can't make an incomplete offering. He was released. And the king on his horse was thinking, the minister said right. When Krishna does anything, he does it for your own good. Then he came back to the palace and released the minister. The minister was released, And when he was released, the king said, my finger got cut, that was for my good. But you went behind bars, that was also for your good. How? He said, of course, that was also for good. He said, if I wasn't behind bars, I would be with you. And if I was with you, he would be killed. I would be a sacrifice to Goddess Kali than anyone else. Therefore, the lesson we learn out of this is, the fifth lesson is, people say be positive. But positive attitude doesn't count. It doesn't work. When a guy was walking and a bird passed on his head, straight, sar pe gira uske bilkul. So he had such a positive attitude, he said, thank God elephants don't fly. What would have happened if an elephant was fly? You see, can you imagine?
And therefore, simply positive attitude, elephant don't fly, but that stuff is still on your head. You have to deal with it. Positive attitude is stuff jayega nahi. So simply having a positive attitude doesn't solve problems. But having a positive attitude rooted in shelter of Krishna, Krishna, thank you. Whatever is happening is your kindness. If good is happening, I'll not get carried away. I'll continue serving you and chanting your names. And if bad is happening, I won't be depressed. I shall see this is your plan. And please unfold to me, Krishna. What is the plan behind this? Let me know what you want to teach me. Let me learn a lesson from it. Let me go from this. And therefore, the RMS Titanic is a powerful topic to learn several life lessons by hearing today. We have observed also people what we heard, and we have probably experienced in our life. And a combo of these three is learning for all of us. His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada also went on a ship, a cargo ship, Jaladuta, to the United States, with 40 rupees in his hand. That's all. A trunk of books. And he created a massive Titanic, because the Titanic means big. The word Titanic means big, great. He created a massive Titanic revolution of bringing everyone in the East and the West on the path of Dharma, on the path of righteousness, on the path of Krishna consciousness. That is Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol. I wish to thank all of you very, very much, all the students and all the guests present here.